Professor, I read through the slides already. Do I get extra points?
No.
Oh, yeah, I read through. Oh yeah, well I didn't do that. No.
I didn't either. I also haven't touched a Final Fantasy game except like for one of them.
Which one was it? That's actually gonna be my introduction. First of all, thank you for speaking out of turn. All of 9, you all have minus points, except you, Cody. You don't. you began to speak out of turn. You didn't.
Star student.
You're the honor student by not speaking out of turn. Anyways, student guy, tell me when you're recording, I guess. And
it's gone. It's gone.
Okay. Are you on the first slide?
No, there's nothing on your screen.
Okay. Are you on the first slide?
I'm on the first slide, Professor.
Yes.
Okay. Just open the PowerPoint presentation and put it on your screen, Lem.
No, I'm recording your screen.
Sure. There's nothing on my screen, Lem.
There is something now. It's the PowerPoint presentation.
Just put the fucking PowerPoint in your screen, Lem.
Give me the link.
No numbers at all.
No numbers
class.
at all.
Okay, class. What can anyone answer to me? What the fuck's a Final Fantasy?
We're on slide one, right?
Me. My hand's raised.
Are you okay? You raise your hand. You can.
Final Fantasy is a JRPG starring a lot of people fighting things, and eventually they kill a god, and they're all fairly strong, I think.
Yes. In the most broad term of the definition, yes. Final Fantasy is a series created by Squeenix, as we like to call it.
You mean Squeenix?
Squeenix.
Vader, it's Squeenix.
Vader. Two colors, Squeenix, Vader.
Professor, what slide are we on?
Anyways, so yeah, Final Fantasy is a JRPG series, it has many iconic elements like chocobos, muggles, the usual, the white mage, the black mage, all of that, which originally started following traditional Western ideas, and then eventually just became Eastern. It just became general fantasy. The funny thing about Final Fantasy and why a lot of people like it is because each Final Fantasy, for the most part, tells a completely separate story, and people can use the iconography and everything else in the universe to tell a different story that each author wants to make, and explore their own fantasy universe in their own way, which I think Final Fantasy started like most JRPGs started based on tabletop, so it makes sense. Now, we're playing Final Fantasy as a tabletop, which is bringing it full circle. JRPGs were inspired by tabletop, and now JRPGs inspire tabletop. And that's what we're doing. Next slide. Yeah. Next slide. Okay. Who here is familiar with dices?
No, me. I'm familiar with dice.
I've never touched a dice in my life.
Okay.
I'm familiar with dice, Professor.
I think I ate one of those once. They're a cake, right?
No.
You mean
They're
dice?
plastic.
Why are you saying the Spanish word for say? Got it. It's a Spanish joke.
I get it. I speak Spanish.
I would have never guessed.
No, the dice are these plastic little objects that we're gonna be using for the game. Now, in this game, sorry to break it to you, there's gonna be challenges. You're gonna be facing some conundrums.
Challenges?
Yes. You're gonna be 4-player characters. You know what that means. Mm-hmm. Now, this system runs in the D100, which is the big die, or 2d10s, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you roll it, when a challenge will be something, let's say your character. Let's say, for example, Lemon or Mike's characters, which are both the ones with the highest Earth in this group, they will both be able to move like small rocks without much issue. But let's say like a giant boulder's coming at them, push it out of the way. The way that you roll here, in difference from other games, it's whenever the action you want to perform is up in the air, whether you could succeed or not with your current abilities. So that means like, I don't know, you don't have to roll for throwing a pebble, or you don't have to roll for like grabbing a big rock if you're like as strong as a bear. You know what I mean? But if you're like pushing a boulder or anything that could be up in the air, yeah, you have to roll. It works similar to other D100 games, in which the DM will say, the DM will be the one that says like we'll say like a number in the D100, and then you'll roll for that, and you have to get a higher number than that. However, on like other games, you don't. Your abilities right now like your stats won't affect the roll. Instead, your abilities will be able to be re-rolled a certain amount of times according to the stat points you have. If I'm not mistaken, based on the level spread, every one of you got 2 ability points, which you could spend in any ability you want. You can always re-roll a challenge roll, and you can always re-roll a challenge roll, no matter what, as long as you have the up to the points of the ability, up to the points you put in that ability, which is how that works. Now on to the next one. Of course, if you fail a challenge, you'll be faced with the book says punishment. I don't quite like that phrasing because that sounds like you did something wrong for even trying. So that's why I put it on quotation here. But it just means like, since you failed to perform the action you took the risk into, you will get like a negative consequence. However, it shouldn't be life destroying. At worst, you'll just have to get into a harder fight and just punch it harder. Next slide. But it's okay, because even when you don't succeed, this system offers you something unique. It's called destiny points. What are destiny points? It's basically a luck meter the whole party shares. You start with 4 as a party, as a main group, and you can spend it freely. It's shared between all of you. And as such, what do you call it? It's shared between all of you, and then all of you can earn it in different ways, which we'll get in a moment. You can spend it in moments, you can spend it, and there's different ways to spend it that can help you give you the advantage. Or since it is a shared resource, I do encourage like people don't just go wasting it all by yourself, since it is a party shared resource and you can also save it. So like, how do you, next slide.
Okay, which slide are we on?
I was on cryptocurrency.
Oh,
Crypto.
fucking Dogecoin!
To the
It is
moon.
Dogecoin. I mean, it is BP, it's Dogecoins. Thank you.
Fuck yeah, Dogecoin!
Yeah,
Points.
yeah. You can. So the way you do it is, if you have a specific quirk with your character, like let's say, if I'm not mistaken, let's see who has one. Cody's character has a specific quirk that allows him to know about technology. He can spend, if he has to make a roll related to technology, like specifically like identifying unknown tech, or machina, as we call them in this universe, he can spend up to 1 or 2 points to add 20 if he spends 1, or 40 to an ability check, just to make sure he can get that roll if it's too high a threshold. Or alternatively, he can spend 3 points and automatically see that roll. The fun thing about quirks is that it not only gives you a way to spend it, but also a way to gain destiny points. Each quirk comes with a downside for your character. For example, in Cody's case, since he is a heretic in this world, the use of technology will gain him hate and sometimes get him into trouble. Which, whenever that happens, I use that plot hook, which is basically what we agreed, to cause troubles for the party and incentivize combat or other troubles for the party. I give you guys 1, 2, or even 3 destiny points, depending on how much it fucks up, how much how much of the difficulty did it cost with it. Usually, it should be 1, 2, maybe 3 is for like giant fuck ups, basically, like things that should drastically change like a course of action completely, and not just a minor complication or a significant complication. Then there's traits, which all of you have, which you all pick for your character. Shows you can always spend that, and each trait, same as quirks, comes with a advantage and a disadvantage for your character. However, quirks are the main way to earn it because those are more personal, while traits are more group-oriented challenges that you will face. Like, for example, and then there's feats of heroism. Sorry. Like, for example, on traits, it's just how to put it. Traits will be more like the whole group has to do something out of their way because the trait specifically they chose gives them a complication. Like in the case of Nemesis, the traits are on the book. You know. And there's feats of heroism, which is basically what you can do with quirks, but with a high cost, which is 4, and you can succeed in any role as long as it is like a heroic feat to perform. Like, let's say, I don't know, Cody, your character doesn't have a lot of strength or earth. Yeah. However, if you spend 4 destiny points, and like let's say a house is falling down on top of some mountains, you can spend 4 destiny points to like hold the house before the orphans fall. But it's a guaranteed success. You can. That's how that works. As long as it's something heroic that you're performing, you can do it. That's like an extreme example of what it is. Just think of anything that can be classified as heroic. It's kind of left up to the decision of the dungeon master or game master to determine what it is. It will be a conversation that happens whenever you decide to do that, if you decide to do that. Yeah. Take into account that whilst the action that you spend it is successful, it can generate more complications. Like in the same example, the house is falling down on some orphans. Well, yeah, you stop the house from falling down on them, but only for a limited time, and you need someone to take the orphans out. Like, you succeeded on what you came out to do, but you can still you gave them a better chance, basically. Then there's divine intervention, which is, let's say the whole party's cornered or something, and they're about to die, and then like, as long as it's in universe ramifications, it can happen, and the party survives by chance. The example the book gives in the Lord of the Rings, you ever heard Gandalf called the fucking eagles and everyone got away?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically what they called. Like the eagles being there is basically basically what this is. And cheat death is a lot more complicated than that. Cheat death is when a character has already died, you can spend 10 destiny points to bring them back. However, they will not come back as good as they were before. They will come back, yes, but they will come back in a different way, be it lower level or with a significant like change of quirks, etc. That's up to the game master and the player who plays the character to decide. However, funnily enough, I don't think this is gonna happen, but the book doesn't say that you can't use it on NPCs if you really felt like it to just bring back one. The book doesn't say you can do it on NPCs. I don't think anyone will, because 10 Destiny points is a lot of money. But theoretically, if you felt like it, the book doesn't says you can.
We gotta bring back the Chocobo, guys.
Fat Chocobo
We gotta
died.
bring back
Okay,
Fat
guys, we
Chocobo.
need to use all of our XP. All our
For
destiny
the
points,
sake
I
of
mean.
Fat Chocobo, I sacrifice me.
I sacrifice the $10.
10 Dogecoin.
The $10 coin.
$2 in a Cadbury cream egg for
Okay,
the big
now-
Chocobo.
Oh, one funny thing. Now that we're getting into combat, combat items do cost money in this game, like most games. However, anything that is not a combat item, by all intents and purposes in this world, is free. You can get almost anything you want that cannot be used in combat. The book says so itself. Ropes, torches, anything like that, it's free. You have it. You can just get it, as long as it's not combat useful, or a resource, like healing potions and stuff like that. Like anything that's not like that, you can technically have it. The game says don't charge for that, so that's how that works.
The utility belt grows stronger.
Yeah, another thing here, you all share one single inventory, so someone should keep track of that.
We should make a Google Doc with just like where we all have access on
I'm
it.
looking at
Or
Mike.
just someone has it.
I'm looking at
Just
Mike.
Yeah, I'm looking at Mike too.
Alright. Yeah, okay.
Nah, share it with all of us so we can.
No, it's just Mike.
No, it's funnier
No.
if we
Anyway.
drop it all on Mike.
Oh, no.
So yeah,
No. Let me do
this part, the non-combat part of the game, is the more traditional part, JRPG style, like tabletop part of the game, which is just a combination of role-playing and talking, and occasional skill rolls whenever there's a situation with consequences and everything. Combat part is the part that's more different than the other ones. So next slide, Lemon, the
Yes.
sixth slide. Okay. Combat in this game works very different from other combats. For once, well, whenever you enter a combat scenario, all of you and all other participants will roll 3d10s. Those 3d10s will be saved and put into there, and we'll start a series of phases going from 1 to 10. Each time there's a number die in there. Each time, like let's say Cody roll a 1, a 4, and a 7. And Mike roll a 2, a 3, and a 5. Phase 1 comes around. Cody goes. Everyone else who rolled a 1 goes. Phase 2 comes along. Mike goes, etc. Everyone else who rolled a 2 goes.
Mm-hmm.
There are multiple actions that you can take during it. Next slide. You basically start with what we call initiative prizes, which are the thing there. The standard, there's a couple different actions. You can spend one initiative dice in the same phase as the number of dice you have to make a standard action. You can do an interrupt, which is standard actions also count as like reactions. Let me put it that way. A difference from like D&D, you need the same type of initiative to do a reaction in the round. So like let's say, I don't know, you're doing something, someone casts a spell, and Adam uses his Rune Knight abilities to try to counter it. He needs to have the same dice, the same number of initiative dice in that round to be able to perform that action, or spend 2 initiative dice to immediately counter that, to do an interrupt.
Would it work
can
if
also
you had
do
an
it in-
initiative beforehand? Like, could you like hold your action?
Yes, you can only hold one action at a time. You can't hold multiple actions, but you can hold an initiative dice till something happens. But if your next turn comes, you can spend both of them at the same time, or you can, or like use one of your actions and then hold an action. But you can only hold one action at a time.
Okay.
You can also spend 2 initiative dice to perform an action or a reaction at any phase as you see fit. And then there's slow actions, which are more akin to what Mike.
Go on.
Yeah, like Mike, who plays an adept in this game, he has access to slow actions. You declare the action, and then a certain number of phases specified on the side of the ability will say there. It says slow action, parentheses, a number. Those are the number of phases that have to pass in order for that action to take place. When you perform a slow action, however, you can still hold other actions the same, applying the limit of just holding one other action. and whenever you hold it, you can, and whenever you do it, you can perform it. Whilst you're doing a slow action, you can't perform any other actions while you're charging, but you can still hold your actions till it happens, or reactions for that matter. So yeah. Now once we get there, we get to combat rolling. Once you actually get to attack in the initiative order, then you get to, this is how it works. Each weapon, which you already have selected for yourself, have an offensive stat and a defensive stat. Each attack will have a base level of roll of damage to hit. Each enemy has a base level difficulty, and then you will and then you roll a d100, and to whatever you roll in there, you will add your offensive stat, and the enemy will add his defensive stat against you. But basically, so like to the threshold that you need to hit, the enemy will add his defensive stat, whilst you will add your offensive stat. I just want to clarify that because of the way this works, you will, if we get to end game, which you probably will, to level 60 or some level 60, some mid 60s, late 60s, you will have like 100 and something to a stat, and you will add that to it. And the enemy will have like a 90 something in stats, and you will add that to it. But that's later on. Just to clarify that, if it gets higher than the stat you will get, then yeah.
Right.
When you do, yeah. Because it's a D100, the lower dice, the units instead of the decimals, and on the roll will be added to your damage as a bonus whenever you get a hit or heal someone. It will be added naturally as an extra bonus when you roll to perform the healing or the attack. Next slide. Now, these are the basic actions you can perform. These are all, these are all standard actions, except for the ones that are quick actions, I should say, which are just things that you can perform with initiative dice. It's normal. So you can attack, difficulty of 40 at base, and then that's everything you get. Then there's dodge, which is a reaction that you can do one attack. To immediately dodge an attack, you do an air versus earth, difficulty of 70. The enemy adds its earth, you add it, you're there. Then there's draw, which it's a quick action where you prepare an item. A difference from other games, you need to draw an item that you want to equip or use first, and then use another initiative dice to use it.
You can't.
There's certain
can't have it like pre-drawn.
If you have it pre-drawn before combat, then in some cases yes, but you do need to spend your action to draw it. One advantage that this gives you is you can draw it, and like another character that's close by to you can. As the game doesn't specify, you can't do it, so I think this is like a fair thing. If you prepare an item, and someone else uses, if you use draw and you're like close by a person, another character can use item in that same, because that's still the same result. You're still spending 2 initiatives, which I don't see a problem with. So you can technically do that, just in case you need to use one. Yeah, there are certain classes that allow you to use items without doing draw or using it both at the same time, but you have that. All of you have this limitation, where you have to prepare an item to equip it before, if you're doing it during combat. You can use items outside of combat, and that's fine. And that one you just use it. But during combat, you need to draw and then item. And then there's flee, which is as it sounds. You just
Running away.
Mm-hmm.
Impossible.
Next slide. Those are the basic actions you can perform in combat.
Oh, hello.
All of you it's a big boy.
Look at the fucking size of this lad.
He is in fact an absolute unit.
He is made out of iron.
These motherfuckers, like 3 refrigerators taped to each other.
And that's just for the body.
Yeah, look at this tiny little head. Anyways.
Tiny.
No
Yeah.
brain.
It's a microwave.
Along with the attack rolls, there's another thing, and that's armor, which is one of the other list. You all have already armor here in the game. Arm, which you already have in your character sheets, that is a base value that you subtract to damage rolls. Well, it's related to physical attacks. And MARM, which is Magic Armor Rating. I don't remember the acronym. I just call them ARM and MARM. You apply that to magical damage. If I remember correctly, the only one with MARM instead of ARM right now, it's Anea, because that's light armor.
I've got 4 Marm.
Who are you talking about? I don't know who you're talking about.
My leather outfit says it has 2 marm.
Along with that, there's some armors that let you be invulnerable to specific types of elementals. Damage calculation happens this way: you perform your attack, you check your weapon, you get your base damage. You perform your attack, you get your bonus damage, you get the multiplier of your weapon, which at this time you should all have ×2. You grab your elemental attack, your elemental element, you add your bonus, and you multiply it by 2, add your bonus, and then determine what element it is and how it affects the opponent. Certain actions will give you 150% plus and 200% plus damage, 200% damage or 150 damage. That will be applied later after that. Elements do affect it. Enemies can be invulnerable, more vulnerable, complete absorb it and heal itself, the damage that you deal with it. It is important to keep that in your mind. It's another reason why you should have multiple items, just in case you need them, because there's enemies that call up.
Question, Professor.
Yes.
You said the multiplier. Would that be the damage factor?
It is.
Yes, that's the damage factor.
I have a damage factor of 3 on my oak staff. Is that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just thought.
Yeah.
Oh, I just thought you said it should be ×2 for most people.
Oh yeah.
I also have a 3.
Oh, okay. I think I'm just thinking of like
No.
shields.
No, it's with the lighter weapons, it's 2.
Yeah, it's 2 with light weapons. Yeah, you're right. Okay. I'm thinking of most wind weapons have a +2 at this stage. It's okay. But yeah. All of your stats have the offensive stat. The one that you apply the damage multiplier, which is it's the stat that you use your offensive stat, and that's your base damage, which you deal. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. There is also another thing where,
Yeah.
if you don't mind me speaking up right here,
Yeah, that's fine.
it's just like an add-on. Say I roll a D100, and I roll.
Critical hits. Yeah.
If I roll, say I roll a D100 and I get a 76. If that attack succeeds, you get to add the damage. You get to add bonus damage equal to the singular digit on what you rolled. I rolled a 76, so I get to add a +6 to my damage. And critical hits do exist in this game. Now, say if I roll a 77, anytime you roll, your base roll is double digits. Say you get snake eyes. If you get an 11, 22, 33, 44, etc., it counts as a critical hit, and you get ×2 damage on it.
Yep. You get a ×2 damage on total, which is applied afterwards. That's how critical hits work in this game. As long as it has 2 of the same digit in it and succeeds the action, then you get a critical hit. So 66, 77, 80, 99, 100, 11, etc. If you're rolling well, anything that has 2 digits of it, it's a critical hit. So yeah, that's about it that you need to know.
That's about it, Kupo.
What does that mean?
Kupo.
What does Koopa mean?
You don't know. You don't know.
Kupo.
You don't know what a
mean?
Kupo. You don't know what Kupo means? Okay.
Adam,
Wow.
type down your character's full name real quick.
Okay, 1 second.
Mhm.
Yeah,
that's
we did
about-
it.
That's about it for the
Full
system.
name.
We did it.
Mm-hmm.
Now it is time.
Now
Is
time
that
for
what you
11 to
did?
forget all of it. Now for time for 11 to forget all of it.
No, is that
Mhm.
is
Damn
that
right I
the equivalent
will.
of, like, is that the equivalent of you like signaling to like sync it up to this?
No.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised you still comment on it instead of just moving on. Honestly,
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing, even if it is a bit mundane at
We
this
all-
point.
We're all getting used to it.
Like if Lemon yelled like that when I was trying to fall asleep, I wouldn't really think too much of it. But like,
It would be normal.
yeah.
Absolutely nothing strange about it.
perfect timing. I suppose we should start now.
Yeah. You should.
Ugh.
Let's do it.
Give me a second.
Lemon, stop the recording and make another one.
Why would I do that?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Because what?
Upload it as a different video.
What?
Upload it as a different video.
Fine.